The biliary system conveys bile from the liver to the duodenum. It consists of bile ducts and gallbladder. Inside the liver we have intrahepatic ducts, and outside the liver we have extrahepatic ducts. Bile formed by the liver cells collecting into the intrahepatic bile ducts inside the liver. The liver cells or hepatocytes produce bile and form the walls of the bile canaliculi, which flow into intralobular bile ducts at the periphery of the hepatic lobule. Interlobular bile ducts are located in the portobiliary space and empty into the segmental ducts, which empty into the lobar ducts. Right and left hepatic ducts emerge from the liver at the porta hepatis. The extrahepatic bile ducts receives the bile from liver, stores and concentrates it in the gallbladder and transmits it to the descending part of the duodenum. Extrahepatic bile ducts consist of major and accessory parts. The major parts are right and left hepatic bile ducts, common hepatic duct, and bile duct. Accessory extrahepatic bile ducts are gallbladder and cystic duct. Outside the liver, right and left hepatic bile ducts form the common hepatic duct. Common hepatic duct together with cystic duct form bile duct. The right and left hepatic ducts from the right and left lobes of the liver emerge through porta hepatis and unite near its right end to form the common hepatic duct, which passes downward and then joined on its right side by the cystic duct to form the bile duct. The angle between the cystic duct and the common hepatic duct is called cystohepatic angle. In the right free margin of the lesser omentum, the common hepatic duct lies on the right side of the hepatic proper artery in front of the portal vein. You can see here how the common hepatic duct fuse with the cystic duct and form the bile duct. Bile duct, or in Latin ductus choledochus, consists of four parts. Supraduodenal part lies above the superior part of the duodenum. Retroduodenal part lies behind the superior part of the duodenum. Pancreatic part is located in the groove between the descending part of the duodenum and head of the pancreas. Intramural part passes inside the medial wall of the descending part of duodenum. The first part of bile duct, or supraduodenal part, lies inside the lesser omentum or parts of the lesser omentum, which called the hepatoduodenal ligament. Inside this ligament we have posteriorly portal hepatic vein, and in front of portal hepatic vein, left we have proper hepatic artery, and right we have bile duct. On the right small picture you can see that the retroduodenal part of the bile duct lies behind the duodenum and behind the head of the pancreas. The green duct is the bile duct. Pancreatic part of the bile duct lies behind the head of the pancreas, and together with the pancreatic duct form the hepatopancreatic ampulla. The intramural part of the bile duct enters the descending part of the duodenum at the apex of the major duodenal papilla. There is a sphincter around the terminal part of the main duct called a bile duct sphincter. This sphincter controls the flow of bile into the duodenum. When you have your patient, you will easily recognize projection of hepatopancreatic ampulla. The major duodenal papilla projects on the anterior abdominal wall at Desjardins' pancreatic point, which is located 6 cm from the umbilicus on a line connecting the umbilicus to the right axilla. The gallbladder is an about 10 cm long blind sac. It is located on the fossa for the gallbladder on the visceral or inferior surface of the liver. Bile is collected and concentrated in the gallbladder. almost the whole gallbladder is covered by the visceral peritoneum except part of its anterior wall, which is attached to the liver by connective tissue. It receives bile from the liver, which it stores and concentrates. When fatty food enters the duodenum, the bile is poured into the intestine through the bile duct by the contraction of the walls of the gallbladder. The gallbladder is divided into the fundus, body and neck. The fundus of the gallbladder is its wide inferior end that protrudes beyond the inferior margin of the liver and is covered by the peritoneum. The body of the gallbladder, its main part, lies in contact with the visceral surface of the liver, to which it is attached by loose connective tissue. The neck of gallbladder is directed towards the porta hepatis and continues with the cystic duct. The cystohepatic triangle of Callot is a topographical space bordered by the liver, common hepatic and cystic ducts. It is a site for ligation of the cystic artery during cholecystectomy. The fundus of the gallbladder is in contact with the anterior abdominal wall and 9 costal cartilage at the point where it is crossed by the linea semilunaris. The gallbladder projects on the anterior abdominal wall at Murphy's point, which is located at the intersection of the midclavicular line and costal margin. Gallstones are small stones usually made of cholesterol that form in the gallbladder. In most cases, they don't cause any symptoms and don't need to be treated. But if a gallstone becomes trapped in an opening duct inside the gallbladder, it can trigger a sudden intense abdominal pain. This type of abdominal pain is known as biliary colic. Some people with the gallstones can also develop complications, such as inflammation of the gallbladder. Cystic artery, proper hepatic artery, and branch of the gastroduodenal artery, superior posterior pancreaticoduodenal artery, supplies the extrahepatic bile ducts. The veins from the superior parts of the extrahepatic bile ducts drain into the portal hepatic vein, and veins from the inferior parts of the extrahepatic bile ducts drain into the superior mesenteric vein. The lymph from the extrahepatic bile ducts drain into the hepatic nodes and celiac nodes. The bile ducts are innervated from the celiac plexus. Parasympathetic fibers descend across the vagus nerve. Sympathetic fibers descend across the greater and lesser splanchnic nerve to celiac ganglion. The sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers reach the bile ducts along its arteries from the celiac plexus. The sympathetic fibers decrease contraction of the gallbladder and stimulate contraction of the sphincter of bile duct. The parasympathetic fibers stimulate contraction of the gallbladder and relax the sphincter of bile duct. Dear students, if you have any question about intrahepatic and extrahepatic bile ducts, you can send me email.